Hi, so I'm back again with the another 10 questions for your PMI-ACP exam preparation. Today I am focusing on product domain and especially the first task of the product domain, which is refining the product backlog. Let's get started. Question number 81. You are initiating a new customer reward management system aiming at improving customer retention and drive more sales. As a product owner, you introduce backlog refinement meeting for the first time. Okay, the team discuss, ask clarification question, and refine the concept into detailed user story. However, some developers feels disengaged, stating that discussions focus too much on business needs and lack technical depth. One developer expressed frustration, feeling their time is not being used effectively. What should the product owner do to improve the situation? Yeah, so pretty clear situation that your developers are not that much excited to attend the meeting because there seems to be that you are talking too much about the business and business need and all those stuff. What should you do? Option A, work alone on user requirements until they are well refined. Then involve the team only for estimation and technical discussion. I see there is a partial good part is that you should do a little bit of homework and well refine the requirement as much as possible. But at the same time, we do want to involve the team to understand their concern. They may have ideas which can help you in refining the requirements. So, but yeah, still I can consider it if I don't get any good, because in the exam, we need to choose the best out of available, not something which is ideal. Option B, it only involves senior developers in early refinement stages and have them educate the rest of the team later. Not at all a good idea. Sometimes you see in some organization this is practiced, but for the Agile perspective, from a PMI-ACP exam perspective, we understand the engagement of the whole team is needed, not just a few senior developers. And we don't want to create a miscommunication that you tell to someone and those people will tell to someone else. So it will go against the idea of self-organizing and continuous engagement. So B is definitely out. Option C, take a vote from the team to decide who wants to participate in backlog refinement session. So say, may look okay because you are giving them freedom. Whoever likes it can do it, but it is not optimal. The reason is, even if they don't want, you need to educate them that everybody's engagement is needed because this is our joint work. Let's see the final option D. Encourage the team to explore stories together, do more preparation before the session, and involve everyone in refinement discussions. So I would say this one is pretty much covering what should be done. You should be getting some details in advance, and then you are insisting of involving others, everyone, not bypassing them. And you are saying that, I will encourage them as well to do a participation. So looking at the options available, I can easily go with option D without much confusion here. And you should also be able to go and choose the option D in your exam if you feel or face this kind of question. Question number 82. A digital banking startup is developing a next generation money transfer app. After 4 iterations, stakeholder feels that not much value has been delivered. Despite regular demo, the team started with the velocity of 20 story point in the first iteration, which has now averaged 25 story point per iteration. The MVP, including basic account management and fund transfer, is expected to launch in the 6th iteration. During the recent management review, stakeholder questions the product owner on prioritization and value delivery. What should the product owner do? So the situation is that you are doing work. The team is producing great velocity. It seems to be that much it is saying. It is improving. The indication is coming. And stakeholders are saying it's been a 4 iteration. We don't see any value out of it. And you are saying, the MVP will come in the 6th iteration. Let's see what are the options. How should I, as a product owner, I should respond or do in this particular situation? Option A, accept the team is unable to deliver value and take a critical look at backlog prioritization. Yeah, so it's like that, showing that you have done some mistake and you probably need to fix it. Yeah. There is no detail which clearly showing that it is something which is happening because of a poor prioritization, because initially the formation of MVP amount of features may take time, and till the time they are not done, we may not be able to deliver that much value. Let's see, rather than going into acceptance mode, we should have some better answer. Option B, explain to stakeholder that the team has delivered 100 story point in the last 4 iterations. How do they come to know? Because 25 story point was the average, okay? And this represents good value. Now, some of you will say, yeah, that's the answer. We have been delivering velocity. Now, from the exam perspective, as well as in the business, we don't believe delivering story point is value. You need to deliver value, not just the story point. Story point is still output orientation. It is still not outcome or a result oriented. So I added option B just to create that confusion. So people should not be selecting it, considering or thinking that velocity or story point delivery is a value. So option B is definitely not relevant. A still can be done, but B is not at all possible. Option C, once the MVP is delivered, highlight that there is often a sharp upturn in the value delivery as additional feature makes the product more attractive to customers. Makes good sense. Now, if you go through your PMI material for ACP preparation, you see all those graphs in your product content where they show that initially the value might be less, and once you cross the MVP, the value delivery will be sharp, and gradually it may start stagnating. And that's the place where you probably want to discontinue investment in the product because additional features are not giving additional value. So the same thing is getting tested a little indirectly in this particular question. So option C looks great. Option D, reduce the team iteration length to increase velocity and improve stakeholder perception of progress. So it is more or less connected to do B. B is again focusing on that we have delivered value. C, D is saying that guys, we have delivered probably a less velocity, let's increase it. Not at all relevant. We need to choose out of A and C only. C is clearly talking about the indication that value delivery will be more sharp after MVP is done. Question is giving that hint the MVP will take 6 iterations. So with the available information in the question and your understanding of the product content from your PMI-ACP material, you know that option C is the best choice in this particular case. Question number 83. A fintech company is developing a cryptocurrency trading app. The product owner is highly detail-oriented and has an extensive experience in the field. He has clear product roadmap for the next 2 years and well-defined plan for the next 6 months. To ensure readiness, he has created detailed user story for the next 6 months and wants the development team to review them and conduct technical feasibility assessment. However, this approach is consuming significant team time in the first iteration, leading to delay in actual development. As an agile practitioner, you are called to recommend a more effective approach. Yeah. So this is say like a product owner is thinking in a waterfallish manner. Seems to be the question indicating the product owner feels that I can do that. But since we are focusing on ACP exam, we are not even assuming the waterfallish way of working might be suitable here. And we know that there is a clear violation of progressive exploring the requirement and continuously responding to change is happening because you are thinking too much in ahead. That's the one aspect is coming in. Second aspect is that if teams spend too much time in doing this kind of estimation work, they will not be able to finish their current iteration work. They are unable to achieve the value in the current iteration. So how as a coach, as agile practitioner, you should recommend what should be the right thing to do in this particular situation? That's the question. Option A, allocate more time for backlog refinement in the current sprint as increased upfront effort will improve prediction accuracy for future iteration. It may look very viable thing, yeah, looking at the context, but we should be very careful about doing it. In the Scrum way of working, it is usually recommended we should not be spending more than 10% of the team's time for thinking about the future iteration. So spending more time and saying that we will have a better visibility future is a waterfallish thinking we should stay away from. Option B, focus refinement of a near-term backlog items. Keep future backlog items high level until they are close to implementation. Looks great. Yeah. Option B is making sure that we are maintaining a deep backlog, detailed appropriately, emergent, estimated, and prioritized backlog. So the backlog should be emerging. Yeah, that's the essence coming out of option B. Looks good. Option C, advise the product owner to continue refining future work in a detail independently, but avoid involving the team in a long-term refinement. Yeah. So it may be looking like that, you continue doing it, but don't bother us. Yeah. So that's not a optimal answer. I would say, no, let's together, we should focus on continuous learning, because if you keep refining the future backlog item, you are not incorporating the learning which we are making after iteratively, incrementally delivering our products. Yeah. So I don't want to separate the product owner from this particular problem. Option D, implement discovery sprint dedicated solely on to refine backlog items for the next 6 months before starting development. Now, some organizations end up doing it, but you should not be doing it, at least for the exam, unless there is a clear understanding of that they want to apply hybrid approach or they want to apply non-agile approach. Yeah, then there could be a situation here. But in general, when I'm just getting tested on the idea, I better be more aligned to agile values and principles. And I understand one of the core idea of agile is responding to the change. Another is focusing on continuous, progressively learning. Feedback loop is very important. And that way we have learned in our content, when you prepare for PMI-ACP, that backlog should be appropriately refined. Yeah, it is not something you need to refine in the beginning, everything. So looking at all those parameters, we go with option B. Focus refinement of near-term backlog items, keep future backlog items at a high level until we reached closer to the implementation, because we want to incorporate all the learning which we are making in the incremental deliveries. Question number 84. Your agile team is developing a new feature for e-commerce platform that allows users to track their order in real time. The product owner has added following user story to the backlog. As a customer, I want to track my order status from purchase to delivery so that I know where my package is at all times. Looks like user story. Yeah. During backlog refinement, the team realizes that this story is too large to complete within a single sprint. Oh, it requires splitting then. Yeah. The team asks the product owner to slice it into smaller, more manageable user stories. Which of the following slicing approach is the best? Yeah. Okay, so we have a big story and we want to create small stories out of it, and we need to find out which one is the better small stories. Option A, track order status via app. Okay. Send order status update via SMS and send order notification via email. So 3 user stories looks decent. Yeah. Option B, develop the tracking user interface. I can ignore it directly because it is focusing on technical thing. Build the API for notification and implement integrated testing. Definitely out. So option B is not a good way of slicing the user story. Option C, customer can track their own orders. Admin can view a tracking history for support, and the logistic team can update order tracking information. Yeah, looks like logical business inputs. But you probably notice it is going beyond the scope of the user story. The user story which we are slicing is written from the perspective of a customer. Now, why to involve admin and the logistic guy when you are slicing a customer-oriented user story? Yeah, that way, not relevant. Option D, enter user order information. Request is processed, second story, and order status is shared via web, email, and SMS. So possible, yeah, that's also possible. Ordering, so we need to go back if you want to track the information. Yeah, so just by entering the thing, he's unable to track. Yeah, it is still a step-by-step process, but it's still possible. It is still giving some logical detail. We are going into a workflow of tracking. But it is not that well testable, the each slice. Yeah, so we need to compare between A and D only. B and C are definitely out. Now A is saying it's a logical group. You can track the status via app, you can track the status by SMS, you can track the notification via email, and this is something like each is independent. Yeah, they are pretty much independent. If I focus on invest criteria, they are pretty much independent. They seems to be small, and yeah, so each will provide a value to the end user. That's there, so they are good. Whereas option D, send enter order information, request is processed. Yeah, request can only be processed when you enter the information, so they are making it dependent. That's there. And order status is via web, email, and SMS, and they are clubbing the status information together. So the problem is, first, it is becoming dependent, and second is it is not adding value in each of the small slice. So looking at that analysis, I go with option A. Now, when you are giving the exam, there could be some not so great user stories and sliced user stories example as well. Yeah, sometimes stories may just start with as a user only rather than talking about as a customer role. But we need to treat the question as we see it. Yeah, we don't have to find mistakes in the question, and we need to find the best possible option in a given situation. Yeah. So here you see the best possible option is option A because it is giving us a pretty much invest stories as a result of slicing that big user story. Question number 85. Your agile team is developing a personal finance management app that enables user to track expenses, set budgets, and monitor saving goals. The product owner has created the following user stories. As a working professionals, I want to add expenses to different categories so that I can track where I spend my money. Okay, yeah. As a working professional, I want the app to generate monthly financial reports and advanced data visualization and AI powered insights to predict my spending habits. Looks like pretty visionary user story. The story 3, as a working professional, I want to receive notification when I exceed my budget so that I can adjust my spending. Okay, so these are 3 user stories. Okay, what do we do? During backlog refinement, the team evaluate these stories to determine their readiness for the upcoming sprint. Okay, so out of these 3 stories, probably I need to identify which ones are ready for the upcoming sprint. Which of the following options correctly identify the best approach for the sprint planning or readiness for the sprint? Let's see. Option A, story A and story 3 are well structured and ready for development, but story B is too broad and need a split into smaller manageable stories. So story 1 and story 3 looks good. Yeah, definitely. We don't have a clear acceptance criteria, but they are looking small and clear in judgment. Story 2 is definitely looking like an epic. It is not a story as of now. So that statement is true. So last statement, story 2 is too broad is definitely right. Story 1 and 3 are well structured. Yes. Ready for development, it depends, but there could be other criteria as well. But looking at that information, this information, I can say option 1A is not that bad. Let's move. Option B. Story 2 provides the most business value and should be set as a sprint goal, prioritize its completion over the others. First thing is, it looks big, but it doesn't mean that it has a business value. We don't know how many users will be looking for those advanced reports and at what stage they will need. And we don't have any information about prioritization as well at this particular stage. So jumping and saying that we will do this in a sprint goal is too much, yeah, too early. Option C, story 2 and story 3 are more valuable as they provide direct benefit to the user through reporting and alerts. So we understand story 1 is saying I want to just categorize it. Yeah, that's the input data. Whereas a story 2 and story 3 is focusing on output data. But the value maybe can be says are more valuable as they benefit direct to user through reporting the alerts. Yeah. Probably yes, yeah, probably yes. But what do I do with the sprint planning? Yeah, sprint planning is my question. What should I do about the sprint planning? Yeah, and we can't just judge. Yeah, we are making little judgment that maybe the categorization of data is not valued than the reports. But until unless the categorization is not there, probably the reports will not be also useful. Yeah, so we can still put a question mark on it. Option D, story 1 is too small and should be merged with story 3 to make it more substantial and valuable. Yeah, so usually you want to split the stories, you don't want to merge them. So I think the D is not that much relevant. So if we go back, the option A looks good. Story 1 and 3 are well structured and ready for development, and story 2 is too big and need a further splitting into the smaller stories before we plan them in the sprint. Yeah, so option A in this particular case. Question number 86. Your agile team is working on travel booking platform. During backlog refinement, the team estimated the following stories. Story A, as a frequent flyer, I want to search for flights by destination and date. And estimation is 3 story point. Okay. Story B, as a frequent flyer, I want to receive email notification when flight price drops. Estimated at 5 story points. Story C, as a frequent flyer, I want to book flight and apply promotional discount code, estimated at 8 story points. Now, during the discussion, one team member argued that story B should be smaller than story A. Okay, as it seems simple, let's see. Story A is talking about search and story B is talking about email notification when the price is dropped. Okay, yeah, looks simple, yes. However, another team member highlights the complexity of integrating third-party APIs for flight price alert, making it more effort intensive. Maybe that person could be also right. So what do we do? As Agile project manager, what should you do? That's the question. Okay, yeah, so we get it. So what we are learning is there is a conflict between the two developers about the estimation of the size. Yeah, the one story is basically about searching the flight. Another story is providing notification on the price drop. And one believes they should not be like this. Yeah, that's the situation. Let's see what are the options and what should we do in this particular case. Apply your expert judgment as it quite visible that story B is smaller than story A and instruct the team to estimate it below 3. Now, why 3? Because the story A is 3. Yeah, that's the reason. So I can say, yeah, so actually you can see that looks like the story B is not that complicated. Yeah, that was the starting point. Yeah, but as an agile leader, project manager, you will limit your involvement saying, guys, this is not right. Yeah, that is something you should stay away from. So you understand, I'm a servant leader, I'm a facilitator. I'm not going to apply my expert judgment because I don't have it. Yeah, my people know more about this particular situation because it is asking a view from a project manager. Even if it is asking a view from a product owner, still I can't do it. Team should be taking the call. Option B, let the team discuss the complexity, effort, uncertainty before agreeing on the story point estimate for story B. Looks correct. Yeah, option B is good. Option C, ask the team member avoid advocating for a higher estimate to list down technical task and effort needed for the story B so you can decide. First thing is, it has two problems that when you are doing story point estimation, you are not getting into the too detailed technical discussions and understanding the effort of each and every task. So that much discussion is not usually done. But even if you want to have a little detailed analysis, the second part makes it clearly off where it says, after looking at a technical breakdown, you will decide. That's anyway not going to happen. There is a possibility sometime in the process of convincing each other, maybe the one person end up justifying and putting more information around it, but it is to convince the team only, not to convince me. Usually we should avoid getting into that detailed conversation, but that could be an exception as well. So option C out. Option D, take a vote from the team on the story points for B and decide based on the majority option. Now, in general, you believe in consensus and discussion and agreement. You don't want to go for voting. There is a possibility, sometimes you have your team charter which says that we can go for a vote. There is a possibility, but by default and for exam perspective, you will say, no, we will apply planning poker and we will reach to the consensus and we will just follow the consensus driven thing because we want to have a common understanding about the complexity. So looking at those theories, we go with option B. Let the team discuss the complexity, effort and uncertainty before agreeing on the story points estimated for story B. Yeah. Question number 87. During backlog refinement, your agile team is estimating user stories for health tracking mobile app. A new team member noticed that the team assigns story point using the Fibonacci series to 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, etc. instead of consecutive numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and ask why this approach is used. As an agile coach, how should you explain the reason for using Fibonacci series sequence in the story point estimation? Yeah, so that's a straightforward concept-based question. You should be able to find it out straightforward looking at the theory understanding. Option A, the Fibonacci series sequence introduce randomness into estimate, make them less predictable and harder to challenge. That's not the objective. Yeah, it just produce a gap as your size increases, but you don't want to make it do something so it will be difficult to challenge. That's not the objective. Option B, use Fibonacci number helps the team differentiating between small, medium, and large stories, more clearly improving estimation accuracy. In a way, yes, yeah, that's there. Yeah, it helps you in defining and dividing small, medium, large stories clearly. Yeah, but why to give a gap? That part is not very clearly coming. But yes, it helps people to the team to categorize the user stories into different bucket. Yeah, that's there. I would say it's partially okay, but let's see. Option C, Fibonacci numbers forces the team to estimate large stories higher, preventing developer from underestimating tasks. Now it is not for the developers only. Yeah, it is definitely make people estimate little higher number because there is a gap. But the objective is not to make developer estimating less. Let's see option D. It reflects the increasing uncertainty as story size grows. Great. Help team avoid false precision precision in the large estimate. Great. That's it. Option D. So as you are getting into bigger work item discussion, your accuracy to estimate the complexity, effort, volume, uncertainty is reducing. And you need to factor that uncertainty. And in order to factor that, we give a more gap. Yeah. So some 8 may be little smaller than 8, some 8 may be little bigger than 8, but overall, all composition of 8 may be helping us to achieve the appropriate estimation accuracy. So that's why we do it, and that seems to be the reason. So we can go with option D. Yeah. Question number 87 can go with option D. Question number 88. Your agile team is developing CRM system for retail company. During backlog refinement, the team is estimating the following user story. As a sales representative, I want to generate customer reports so that I can analyze sales trend. Okay, yeah, looks okay. During estimation, a developer states that effort required to develop is 3 story points. However, the tester argues that testing, integration, and preparing for the sprint demo will take additional 2 story points. Yeah. So what should the final story point estimate here? So let's see option A. A 3 story point testing is implicitly included in development estimate, so there is no need to add extra points. So it has something relevant, but something different as well. So we are saying that story points are not estimation of development or testing effort. It's a joint number we are putting as a one team. Yeah. So we should be putting one number, but we can't just say the developer number is that number, but we should be putting one number. So there is something right, but something not right in the option A. Option B, 5 story points, add the development and testing estimate together for the more accurate total. I see some organization end up doing that. Yeah, there is a practice in some organization, but that is not expected to be the case. Yeah, if we are doing it in a real world, then it is becoming more like an effort estimate, not a story point estimate. We want to focus on size. The idea of agile way of working is common understanding of size, common goal, not a departmentalized or section-wise goal. Yeah, so this is definitely no. And I made this question to make you clear about that only. The option B is not the good idea. Option C, let the team discuss and agree on single number that represents the overall effort, considering complexity, risk, and effort holistically. That's it. Yeah, easy. I think finding answer is the easy. Just understanding why the wrong are wrong probably will help you in getting the more questions right. Yeah, that's the important part of it. Option D, use story point estimate for development and testing to track effort separately. That's the another dysfunction. You can say, oh, we will put at 2 story points here. Development story point is 3, testing story point is 2, and we will maintain these 2 story points separately. That will be a big chaos. When the story gets done, how do you rank it? If the only development get done and testing is not get done, not going to happen. That's not at all an intent. And if some organizations are doing it, they are creating more confusion for their own measurement system. So simple option C. Your agile team is developing a fitness tracking app. During backlog refinement, the team estimate the following parent user story. As a fitness enthusiast, I want to log my daily exercise so that I can track my fitness progress. Okay. The team initially estimated 8 story point, but later decided to split into 3 smaller stories. Okay. 1, log cardio exercise, log strength training exercise, log flexibility and yoga exercise. So 3, 2, 2. Yeah, that's the story points. A new team member points out that total now equals 7 story points instead of the original 8 and ask if the breakdown should match the original estimate. Yeah, so the question is trying to ask us, when you have a big story and you divide them into smaller stories and you had a number already at a big story, the smaller story sum total, what if it goes more or less? Should you adjust and make it match, or how should you handle in the agile ways of working? That's the question. Yeah. Let's see the options. So the total estimate of the smaller story must add up to the exactly 8 story point to stay aligned with the original estimate. You know that's not the idea. And there will be progressive understanding of thing, and we will figure it out as we move forward. Estimation is a never-ending activity. Yeah. The team should re-estimate each small stories independently, and total does not need to match the original estimate. Yes, because we need to face the reality as we understand it now. If we have a better understanding after breaking this bigger stories into smaller stories, we need to use them for planning our upcoming sprint. Yeah, it is not like we need to show the matching of the number. We need to plan, replan so that we can give a right forecast. That's the objective of splitting and re-estimating the user story. So option B looks great. Option C, the product owner should decide the final total since they owns the product backlog prioritization. Definitely not. Yeah, story points are estimated by the team and they should be taking care of estimation part of the backlog. Option D, the team should reassemble the stories into one large stories to avoid estimation mismatch. Yeah, they are saying, guys, not do it. Don't do it. If you have a story which is made and estimated, no, don't break it into smaller one. Let's do it there only. This is creating confusion. Let's keep it 1/8 story. Definitely not the right choice. Yeah. So these are pretty simple questions, provided we know the concepts well. The product domain is relatively less complex. Yeah, provided you have some understanding of how do we work with the product backlog and user stories. So that way, it's pretty simple. And I will say, yeah, option B, the team should re-estimate his story independently, and the total doesn't need to match the original estimate. Question number 19. Your Agile team is developing a food delivery app that allows users to browse restaurant, place order, and track deliveries. During backlog refinement, the product owner represents a user story map that outlines the entire user journey. So you should visualize the user story map in your mind as soon as you get this question. So browse restaurant, it has a stories like view menus, search for cuisines, filter by rating, place order, select item, customize. Okay, payment and confirmation, detail payment, orders think, tracking, post deliveries. Yeah, there are ready, review, reorder. Okay, there is some stories. So there are steps, there are 5 steps, and there are some stories behind under it. The team needs to determine which user story should be prioritized for the first release, ensuring that user can complete the most fundamental tasks. Okay, so we have a user story map given, and the question is asking that what all stories should go into the first release. I probably don't have to select those stories. Let's see what are the options. Option A, select at least one story from each stage of the user journey, ensuring user can complete an order end to end. That's the whole intent of user story mapping. Looks good. Option B, focus only on payment processing and restaurant listing as they are the most critical backbone features. So when the word user story mapping is coming, you need to think about the flow. You don't have to think about one feature or another feature. And if I want to give a basic flow, I need to make sure the user should be able to fulfill the goal from the application. If I just make a one feature, even if it's a backbone feature, I won't be able to make it releasable feature. Option C, include all user stories to deliver the full experience immediately. Waterfallish thinking. It says, guys, don't think about anything else. Include all the stories and we will deliver it once. Yeah. Prioritize only front-end UI elements since the backend can be added in the later updates. Yeah, we need to want to make the people follow the flow, and you can decide inside the flow which stories goes in. But option A gives a holistic approach and the uses of user story mapping. So this was your product domain mock. Yeah, 10 questions. And if you have specific queries related to your PMI-ACP preparation, you can connect with us. I do run PMI-ACP live classes, which can help you to get certified in the shortest possible time.